We need to talk. Welcome to From Center Ice. My name is Courtney, and with there only being one game on last night, I was going to roll the recap for the Avs and Blues game into today's recap video since there were 3 games on today. Florida and Tampa played early in the afternoon, the Canes and the Rangers played mid-afternoon, and tonight, earlier in the night than usual, we have Game 3 of the Battle of Alberta. But there's not going to be a recap video for Saturday's game or the 3 games that happened today because we need to have a more important conversation. And that is that there is no outcome of any hockey game on planet Earth that would make it acceptable to send targeted threats or racial comments to a hockey player. And I emphasize hockey because that is what this channel is about. That is what this certain incident is about. But there is nothing ever that would make it acceptable to do that to anybody. This all started last night in the game between the Colorado Avalanche and the St. Louis Blues. During that game, there was a play when a loose puck was rolling toward Jordan Binnington's net. Calle Rosen, defender for the Blues, and Nazem Kadri, forward for the Colorado Avalanche, were fighting for the loose puck. Jordan Binnington was on the side of his net. Calle Rosen, I would assume, was trying to knock the puck away. Nazem Kadri was trying to poke the puck into the open side of the net. But with how fast the game of hockey is, Calle Rosen got front position on Kadri that kind of threw him off of his route a bit, and Jordan Binnington, in an effort to try to keep the puck out of the net, was sliding to his left to try to make the save. All of this together ended up in Calle Rosen running into Jordan Binnington and Nazem Kadri being right behind him, also running into the goaltender. And then Bennington was in severe discomfort. The trainers came out, they were talking to him for a bit. He looked like he was going to try to shake it off, try to get back into the game, but as he was doing sort of a warm-up drill, he tried moving around the crease and then he just fell back to his knees because he was in pain. So Ville Husso had to come in net for St. Louis, finish out the game, and the Colorado Avalanche ended up winning. Now, it must also be noted that in the first period of the game, a forward for the Blues, Ivan Barbashev, ran into one of Colorado's defenders, Samuel Girard, behind the net. Girard had to leave the game and he was taken to the hospital for further evaluation. Turns out that he broke his sternum and he is out for the rest of the playoffs. We found out today that Jordan Binnington is out for at least the rest of this series. Because of the play that resulted with Bennington leaving the game and then, come to find out, leaving the series as a whole, Blues fans were blaming Nazem Kadri for intentionally injuring Bennington on the play. A bit of history here. Nazem Kadri has been suspended in the playoffs before, multiple times, for bad hits that he has laid on players. He was suspended last year in the playoffs for a hit on Justin Falk, who is a defender for the St. Louis Blues. So he does have a history, but on this play, there is no way that he was intending to injure Jordan Binnington. That is ridiculous. The puck was loose. Both he and Calle Rosen were skating toward it with their sticks out, trying to poke at the puck. Jordan Binnington wasn't even in the picture until he slid left to try to keep the puck out of the net. Calle Rosen ran into Bennington first, and Nazem Kadri just followed that route because that's where the play was going, and he was basically attached to Calle Rosen in the process. It becomes more and more obvious as you watch the play, as you slow down the frames, that Kadri was not intending to injure anybody. He was intending to score a goal or get a chance to score a goal. But immediately, because of his history, people were online blaming Kadri. And if it had just stopped there, that's fine. Because fans of any team aren't going to be happy if one of their guys is injured. It's okay to think an injury is some guy's fault and to say, oh, well, maybe it was his fault that so-and-so was injured. What is not okay is going on the internet and on players' social media pages particularly and spewing racial comments at them. Nazem Kadri is a player of color, and with all of the other nonsense and bad hits that go on in the game of hockey, it is blatantly obvious why he gets so much more hate than anybody else. People will try to say that it is because of his history and his suspensions, but look at all of the other players in the league who do worse stuff than he does. And the play wasn't even dirty. And I noted Samuel Girard's injury, which happened earlier in the game, because Blues fans and people online just seem to have forgotten about that their guy wasn't the only one taken out of the game, out of the series. Girard is out for the playoffs with a broken sternum because Ivan Barbashev, a much larger guy than Samuel Girard, did not pull up on the hit behind the net into the boards. There was no need for him to fly in there with reckless abandon and just truck over him. He could have just tied him up or hit him with a lot less impact than he did, but nobody's talking about that because Ivan Barbashev is not Nazem Kadri. After the game, Kadri was on TV doing a post-game interview with the TNT crew, and Jordan Binnington walks by him in the hallway and throws a water bottle at him. We all know Jordan Bennington's history. If you don't, I don't want to go into all of it here, so just look him up. But the lack of respect there is just ridiculous. Kadri did not mean to injure him. And you're gonna walk by and throw something at him after the game? The people on the TNT panel looked incredulous. Paul Bissonnette especially, who wasn't a soft guy in the league himself. The post-game comments from the Blues coach and players were especially upsetting. They didn't aim any racial comments toward Kadri, but when asked about the play and if they thought that Naz knew what he was doing there and was trying to injure Bennington, basically all of them said things that came down to, well, look at his history, that's all you need to know. I get that this is a playoff series and a competitive series, but that was not a malicious play. And then it got worse because then people were online threatening violence toward Nazem Kadri. He was receiving so many threats and so much racial abuse that they had to involve law enforcement. It is a game of hockey. That is never, under any circumstances, acceptable. And what the St. Louis Blues really need to do is they need to come out and say that publicly, that anybody acting this way, that is not acceptable. That is not what our organization stands for, to threaten people with violence, or to call them racial slurs, or to hit them with any form of harassment. There was a statement from the Avalanche. The Avalanche organization is aware of threats made toward Nazem Kadri and is working with local law enforcement to investigate. And I just searched and I haven't seen anything said by the St. Louis Blues organization. It's so disappointing that time and time again we have to have these conversations. But they are important to have because people can't think that this is something that is acceptable to do. They can't think this is acceptable behavior. That just because your team loses a hockey game, that just because one of your players gets injured, that all of a sudden you can throw threats at somebody else. That you can threaten them with harm. That you can racially harass them. Nazem Kadri is not your enemy. He is a hockey player who is trying to score a goal, and there was an unfortunate collision. And he's had to deal with this kind of thing throughout his entire career. I can't imagine what it must feel like for him to wake up in the morning and then just go on the internet, just, scroll through social media like all of us tend to do, and then see death threats and threats of physical violence and racial harassment just because you were trying to score a goal and there was an unfortunate play. Kadri has been suspended for the bad hits that he has made in the past. He has been punished for those. This was not one of them. He does not deserve this harassment. Nobody deserves this harassment. It is a game. Of course, it's unfortunate that somebody got injured on the play, but that's not the first injury we've ever seen in a hockey game. Under no circumstances is threatening somebody acceptable. This shouldn't have to be said so often. And I hate the fact that we're all just sitting around here trying to enjoy the playoffs, and then once again, people take it too far. But they have So this conversation needs to be had, whether you like it or not, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not. Racism is not okay. I can't believe I even have to say that. It is not acceptable. And if you truly think that it is, then I sure hope that there are enough people in the hockey world that are working to make this a space where you are not welcome. The NHL really likes to say hockey is for everyone, but we see time and time again that that just isn't true. Hockey should be for everyone. There are a lot of wonderful people who are trying to make it that way, but without having these hard conversations, without continuously calling out people who cross the line, without making it known that these types of comments and these types of actions and targeted harassment are not acceptable, then hockey is never going to be for everyone. I truly hope that one day we get to a place where we don't have to talk about this anymore because it just doesn't exist. But in order to get there, we have to keep talking about it, keep making it known that it is not okay. And that is where I will end this video. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye guys.